have so many excuses for why I have not filmed anything this month. I was sick. I went to my cousin's wedding. Our hot water heater broke and my living room was torn apart. Dog ate my homework. But all of that is beside the point because I am back. What's up, Stitches, and welcome to the Ranney Knits podcast. My name is Justine, and this is my podcast all about the things I'm making with my hands and yarn. I am a knitter and sometimes crocheter, and I just generally enjoy crafting all the things. Thank you for tuning in. It has been a couple weeks, a little bit longer than I originally anticipated, but I am back. I am here and I am ready to talk about knitting. I talked about a giveaway I was going to do for my birthday on the last episode, and this episode I am going to announce a prize winner. I have not done that at the time of filming, so what I'm going to do is film this because it's already taken me way too long to get this filmed, to get started. So I'm going to film this, choose a winner. The winner will be below. So in the description box, the winner will be in the description box. So if your name is in the description box right down below, please contact me and let me know which color stitch markers you would like and where I can mail them to you. So email me, ranneyknits@gmail.com, send me an Instagram DM, send me a Ravelry message, however you prefer to get that information to me, and congratulations. Thank you all for entering my giveaway. It was a lot of fun reading all of your birthday traditions and birthday wishes, so thank you so much. I had an excellent birthday. Thank you for asking. You're so kind. Yeah, I went to a 3-day music festival here in Seattle. It was a lot of fun. I felt very old because I want to say that I was about 10 years older than your average show goer. Pretty much everybody there seemed like they were in high school or college, but it was a lot of fun. Who did we see? We saw Portugal the Man, we saw Phoenix, we saw Ludacris, Lil Wayne. I wasn't so excited about Ludacris and Lil Wayne, but those guys can put on a show. They were pretty fun to watch. I am still recovering from a cold, so pardon me if my voice goes out a little bit. I'll try to edit around any coughing noises. As it's been about 2 or 3 weeks now since I have last podcasted, I have quite a few finished objects that I'm excited to share with you. The first one being my V-back tee, which I am wearing. This is a pattern by Jamie Hoffman, who is Knitosophy on Instagram, and I'm pretty sure that's her username on Ravelry. But this is her pattern, and I knit this with 3 different yarns. This is Elan 4-ply, which the only place I've seen it for sale is on Amazon. You can get it in like a 5-pack or a 10-pack set. I think it's Australian merino wool. I'm not sure. This has been around for quite some time. Kind of when I started knitting with fingering weight. This was kind of my first foray into fingering weight yarn, maybe. I might have messed around with some sock yarn with some Regia or something, but it's been around for a while, and it just so happened to be almost the same color as the blue in this Nano Stitch Lab yarn, which is in the colorway 13th Doctor. It's on their scientific sock base, and the last colorway in this sweater is by Lolo Did It. It is her Helping Hippos colorway that she put out last year as a fundraiser effort to help out those affected by Hurricane Harvey. I just found out that this is actually back. It was a limited edition last year, but they're what's the word I'm looking for? They are coming out with it again. They're re-dyeing it. She's got it back in stock, and I believe it is part of a Hurricane Florence fundraiser to help people affected by Hurricane Florence this year. So yes, the last I saw it was back in stock. It is a gray with rainbow speckles, and I absolutely love this yarn. So I did a lot of modifications. First of all, I only had, let's see, I had 25 grams of this dark blue up here. I had 45 grams of the Nano Stitch Lab, and I had a full 100-gram skein of the Lolo Did It. So in Jamie's pattern, she gives you the option to use 3 colors, 4 colors, or 5 colors, I think. And you just knit the amount of inches designated for whichever color, whichever amount of colors you decide to use. So I did not do that because I had a limited amount of yarn. So I just knit the 25 grams here, all of it. I knit all but 10 grams of the Nano Stitch Lab yarn because I wanted to save some so that I could also put some in my sleeves. And then I knit, I think I knit about 60 grams of the Helping Hippos by Lolo Did It. I had about 40 left for the sleeves, I believe. So if you wanted your colors to be even, she does give you options and guidelines for how to make your colors equal amounts in your sweater. So this is the V-back sweater, and I am wearing it with the V in the back. So I will turn around real quickly and show you the back in all its glory. So you do short rows down here in order to match the back and the front. So when you're doing this V, this part is longer until you start doing the short rows, and then that makes everything even. So I kind of like the way that this turned out with one color in the majority of the bottom section. I think that kind of masks the short rows a little bit, and it just worked out really well. And there are really cute speckles in the Nano Stitch Lab that kind of continue on, and they're almost the same color. That was cool. The gray in this 13th Doctor colorway and the speckles were nearly the same color as the Helping Hippos, even though different dyers. So that worked out really well, and I'm very pleased with how this turned out. I didn't alternate skeins on this part, and it turned out so beautifully variated. There was a little bit of pooling right here in the speckles that I was worried about, but as I continued on with the short rows, it turned out beautifully. So that was really fun, and when I started knitting this, I kind of decided if the speckles pool, if it doesn't work out very well, I was just gonna leave it, because I kind of liked that whole splatter painted, you know, not perfect look. But they worked out really beautifully. I did end up cropping the body about ½ an inch to an inch maybe, and I can't really say that was on purpose. I think I was just looked at the instructions for the extra small rather than the small, and by the time I started with the short rows, I just decided it was going to be fine. So it is a little bit shorter than what is written in the pattern. But I made the sleeves longer because I was having a lot of fun with the Lolo Did It. So I think the sleeves were supposed to end about here. I added extra inches for my decreases. I decreased approximately every 15 rows. Sometimes it was 16, sometimes it was 17 or 18. But I decreased equally on my sleeves. I meant to decrease every 15 rows. So I didn't do a gauge swatch for this particular yarn. I gauge swatched for my original color choice, which I talked about the last episode, and wasn't working for me, and I just decided to go with it and use up some of my scrappy yarn and this Helping Hippos, which has been in my stash since last year because I couldn't find a perfect project to work on it. I couldn't find a perfect project to make with it. But my gauge actually ended up for this one being right on. I used a size 6 needle, and I am really happy with this. I was a little bit concerned because, like I said, I was using up scraps and I wasn't following all the I wasn't following the pattern instructions, which gave very equal amounts of everything so that you had a nice blend of colors. I just kind of went with it. I also wasn't too sure how this Nano Stitch Lab was going to work because it was more of a micro stripe. I showed this last time, but this is what the Nano Stitch Lab looks like when it is knit up. So it does have a little bit of a stripe to it, and you don't really see that with fades very often. It's mostly like speckled yarn going into another speckled yarn, or kind of a variegated into a similarly colored variegated, but I think this worked great and I'm really pleased with it. This top is also reversible, so you can wear the V in the front, but I really like it the way it looks this way. I think my neckline on this is a little bit tighter than other necklines I've seen, and I don't know it's a tubular cast on, and I don't know if mine's just extra tight because I don't have a lot of experience doing tubular cast-ons. That's not one that I usually do, and it took me, I must have cast this on, including the first version that I did, I must have cast it on 5 times because I just couldn't wrap my brain around the tubular cast-on. But I got it, I did it, I'm glad I did. I also did a tubular cast-on for the bottom, which is, it's okay. I do a sewn tubular cast on, and it's a little bit tight, which is fine for this garment because it's kind of loose and flowy at the bottom anyway. So if it's a little bit tight, you don't notice it like you would with like a really fitted loose, like you would with a fitted ribbed bottom on a garment. But yeah, the tubular bind off was just something that I felt like doing at the time. There's not really any reason that I did it. Honestly, I don't know why I chose to do that. I guess because it matches the top, but like anybody would ever notice that. I did a simple stretchy bind off for the sleeve cuffs. Simple stretchy bind off that I do in nearly all of my projects. It's a bind off that I found in a tutorial by Very Pink Knits. It's easy and it's stretchy and it's it looks pretty good. So this was finished in the beginning of September, I believe. It was before I left to go to my cousin's wedding. And yeah, then I got sick and I went to a wedding. So I was sitting on the couch a lot and I was traveling a lot. Guess I wanted more comfort projects. It's kind of weird because in the last, I don't know, 6 months or so, it seems like every time I finish a sweater I immediately have another one to cast on. And I do have sweater ideas in mind, which I will talk about, but I just couldn't wrap my brain around anything more than hats. I have been knitting hats lately. let's see, let's talk about this one first. So I finished this one, and this was not a comfort, easy knitting project. This is the Harlow hat by Andrea Mowry, and I knit my first Harlow hat as part of her 4-day knit along. So I knit a hat in 4 days, and this is a brioche hat, so it is reversible. And so I knit the first Harlow hat in 4 days, and I got really excited about this because it was my first brioche project, and it does make a very squishy, lightweight, soft hat. And so I got so excited about it, I thought, oh, I am going to cast on another one, and I'm going to give it to my dad for Father's Day. Father's Day was in June, and this was not finished, so this kind of just sat on the back burner until a couple days ago, when I brought it out and decided I just had to finish it. There was only about an inch before I started the decreases left to do. It did not take me that long. The hardest part was remembering how to brioche, because I hadn't done it in a couple months, but I got that. I don't see any mistakes in it, so super happy with that. The yarn is Knit Picks Stroll Tonal. This is the Sapphire Heather colorway, and the green, I believe the green is Coldstream. I think that's it. This is actually not Stroll Tonal, this is just Stroll the Sapphire, and the green is Stroll Tonal. But that is that, so that is ready. My dad's birthday is next week, so that'll go off to him, but it's a hat. So I was doing a lot of traveling last week. I flew to Minnesota, and there were lots of car rides involved, and so I had this hat, which I don't know if this one has been, no, I don't think this one has been on the podcast in this form. I had this yarn on the podcast, and I was calling this Vanilla Beanie, but I frogged that because I didn't like it, and I restarted it. It was a while ago. It was many months ago. I know, I restarted it because I needed a project on wooden needles because I was flying to Alaska to go home for the summer. So I had it on, so I cast on wooden needles and carried it around with me everywhere I went and didn't get any progress on it. So I had this all queued up for my trip to Minnesota last week. I don't like to fly with metal needles because I'm scared that they're going to take them away from me at TSA. I don't think that they do that. I'm pretty sure there are other people who have gotten away with it, but it just kind of freaks me out. Like, I don't want to lose my needles. So, yeah, I had a pair of clover needles lying around, so I got a whole lot of this knit on the airplane, some more knit in the car ride, and I finished this up yesterday. This is the lovely ribbed hat. It is free on Purl Soho's website. It is knit entirely in 2x2 ribbing, so if you're not a fan of ribbing, you wouldn't even consider this pattern because it is all ribbing. It is knit on US size 2 needles, and I think it's supposed to be knit in a sport weight yarn. For some reason I got it in my head that it was a sport weight yarn, but I didn't double check that. On their website they list their store's yarn, but it doesn't say what weight it is, it just says use this yarn. So I'm not entirely sure if that's the weight that it's supposed to be. regardless, this is a very densely knit hat, and a sport weight on 2 needles, on US 2 needles, makes for a very dense hat. This is the adult large. I knit this for Mr. Ranney Knits because he wanted a gray hat, and I said I would, and yeah. I knit this pattern before. I knit it in a fingering weight yarn held double with a mohair, and I really like it. It makes a very well-fitting hat. It kind of just, this one's a little bit big because it's not meant for me, but really fits your head well. If you like a tight-fitting hat, I'm kind of struggling because it's kind of hard to talk about hats, especially when they're just ribbed, but that's the lovely ribbed hat. Oh, it is in Madeline Tosh Sport in the Smokestack colorway. So that's that. So my last finished object is another hat. Imagine that. This is one that I knit out of Stitch and Story yarn. I didn't use a pattern. I just cast on something like 50 stitches and put a little colorwork dot in there. I obviously didn't really know what I was doing with the colorwork dots. Every hat that I've seen that has a pattern similar to this, they stop the dots at the decreases, which makes sense because then they kind of just get a little messy on top there, but it was my first attempt. I wasn't following a pattern. This was cast on when I wasn't feeling well and just needed a cozy comfort knit. So yeah, Stitch and Story is a company that makes yarn kits, and they also sell this chunky merino wool, and I am a brand representative for them. So what that means is they send me their kits, which include yarn and a pattern, and I knit them and post about them on Instagram. So that's something that I started doing in August, so this is part of my second box that I've got from them, and they sent me these 2 yarns and I just knit a hat with them. So I haven't talked about their yarns or their kits because that's something I feel like is more toward Instagram, and I don't want this podcast to ever feel like I'm trying to sell you on something, so I've just decided to keep that sort of more separate, and that's all on Instagram if you want to know. They do give me a discount code, and if you're interested in that, I will put it below. It's Ranney Knits 20. And you can get 20% off on their kits or their yarn. This is a little hat. I knit this on US size 11 needles. It took me about maybe 2 hours to finish it. It was kind of nice to just have a super quick knit, and I think this will make a good gift for someone. So, Christmas knitting. I did make a pom-pom, and it is kind of ridiculous, but I haven't sewn it on yet, but there's my pom-pom, and it's a little large. I got a little out of control with the pom-pom. It's a little large. I made this with my pom maker, which is a wooden pom-pom maker that looks like a donut. There's my wooden pom maker that you can get at pommaker.com. It's got 2 halves, but they're not together, but it will make you one giant pom-pom. So that's that. So like I said, it was kind of a busy month for me, and other than that hat, I didn't really cast anything on that I can think of. I may be lying, but yeah, I finished my V-back sweater, or V-back tee, finished a couple hats, and that is kind of it. I, of course, have many works in progress. I'm super happy to get those 2 hats finished because those have been works in progress for a couple months now, so that's nice to get that down. I've been working on my river shawl a little bit, but not too much. So I couldn't really find a work in progress that I felt like would be really that interesting to talk about. Everything that I have on the needles right now is something that I've already shared with you, so don't really want to repeat myself too much. I know I do, especially when I haven't podcasted in a couple weeks because I forget everything that I said. But I thought I would share a couple things that I have in the pipeline. So this is my upcoming projects segment. It's just talking about Stitch and Story and their kits. And I have one here. This is how their kits come in these cute little paper bags. This is the, I did not practice this, Matin snood. Just a simple infinity scarf. They sent it to me in the Empress Coral colorway. Red is not a color that I usually gravitate to, so it's kind of, it's kind of fun to break out of your color zone, your color comfort zone every once in a while. So this has the needles in it, and I am planning on casting that on as a quick instant gratification project. So yeah, probably the next time I podcast that will be done. And then I'm planning on, for the rest of September, it's like another week of September. Where did September go? I swear, I don't know. It just flew by. It's madness. Tomorrow is the first day of fall, and it is feeling very autumnal here in the upper left USA. So I guess we're here. This is not a pumpkin spice latte. This is an iced coffee. I've had one pumpkin spice latte in my life, and it was terrible. There was something wrong with it, and they burnt the espresso or something, because it was undrinkable. And I've kind of been put off by pumpkin spice lattes since then. I apologize if you're a pumpkin spice latte fan and offended by my lack of reverence for the drink. I was talking about upcoming projects. So I'm very excited because I was chosen to be a sample knitter for Allie, who is the dyer behind Explorer Fibers. She was looking for some sample knitters, and she asked me to knit her a Tecumseh by Caitlin Hunter out of her yarn. So that is my next sweater project. So I am doing my best not to cast anything on and trying to work on my many whips. I have 3 socks that I have no inclination to work on at all, and my river shawl that will probably see some work on it. So yeah, I'm just gonna focus on those, work on those, so that I can devote all my time to knitting that sweater for her. So I'm really excited. I have been wanting to try out sample knitting. I've never done it before. I've done quite a bit of test knitting for people, but never sample knitting. But it's kind of something that I've always wanted to try doing. I think it's a great way to try out yarn, and you know, it's nice to help somebody out. Like, I have the time and the skills, and it'll just be nice to do that for her, and she's gonna pay me in yarn, so yes, please, thank you. So I will be casting that on as soon as I get the yarn, which will probably be sometime next week. So if anyone out there is currently knitting a Tecumseh, I'm gonna go with Tecumseh. If anyone out there, if anyone watching is planning on knitting that or currently knitting that sweater, let me know, because I think it would be fun to knit along together. So yeah, that's my plan. If you've been keeping count, this happens to be my 9th top that I finished this year. I'm counting the tank top that I made last year, and I had a couple t-shirts that I made in there, but the t-shirts had lace on them, so I feel like that is extra bonus points. Even though they didn't have full-length sleeves, they had lace, and that's pretty much the same thing as knitting a sleeve, in my opinion. So yeah, that's 9 tops, and it is September, so that makes it awfully tempting to go for 12 tops in 2018. It's not a goal that I really even thought of until around June. So I had 6 tops completed in June, and I was kind of thinking like, oh yeah, that would be cool, but there's no way I could catch up because I know I'm not going to get any knitting time done, because I know I'm not going to get a lot of knitting time in July. But here we are, it's September, and I have 9 tops. I have a top and I have a sweater planned for October. Yes, I'm counting it, even though it's a sample knit and I don't get to keep it. Obviously, it still counts. So there's October. So that means all I would have to do is find 2 more sweaters to knit in November and December, and I think I'm going to be able to do that. I already talked about my pullover that is on hold until I get the Tecumseh done, but I don't anticipate that taking too long. It's a DK weight sweater, so I think I'll be able to knock that one out pretty quickly. So we'll see. I guess it's now my goal to get 3 more sweaters done by the end of the year. So I'll do I'm planning on doing that one in November, and then December, I think it'll have to be some sort of holiday festive sweater. So if you have any ideas for me for a December sweater, let me know, because I think that would be pretty fun. I of course have lots and lots and lots of other projects planned out. It is so tempting to cast on. I have a couple scarves that I want to do. I have a couple cowls that I really want to knit besides the Stitch and Story cowl. There are many others, but for right now, that is all the knitting that I am going to talk to you about today. Thank you for tuning in. I'm really glad that you found your way here and are willing to sit and watch me talk about all my crazy knitting plans. It's really fun and I appreciate you. So, hopefully it won't be another 3 weeks until I next podcast, and I am looking forward to sharing lots more squishy yarn with you. Until then, happy autumn, happy knitting, and I will see you next time. Bye!